Welcome to the Sports Car Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Happy Sunday. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, spending it with family and friends. I had a great Thanksgiving, except for my Chiefs losing on Thanksgiving Day. And what made it even tougher is Mrs. Sports Cards Lessons is a Dallas fan. And we said, look, if that game was not on Thanksgiving, we would have traveled to that game. We always try to figure out to go see them, play each other. And just because it was on Thanksgiving, it was not going to work out this year. But still hopeful, right? Still hopeful for my Chiefs that we're going to figure it out and get back to the playoffs. Now I'm just like every other fan out there, right? I wasn't sure if I was actually going to record a podcast today. It was being the holiday weekend, after back-to-back weekend with shows and Thanksgiving festivities. I have to admit, I'm feeling a little tired today. Feeling a little tired. It's a rainy day here in Connecticut. Got up this morning and I thought, wow, maybe I'll just lie on the couch and watch football all day and just recover from all the festivities and things that have been happening for the last 4 days, and really back-to-back shows too. I was at Mohegan for 2 days last weekend, so yeah, just looking to do a little rest and relaxation. But you know what, I'm here, we're doing this, and one of my reasons, like, super excited, like, I know everybody in the hobby, no matter who I talk to, feels the same way. When you get some great cards in the mail, when you have some great mail days, man, all you want to do is share. Like, it's one of those things that you're like bubbling over inside that you just want to, share with other people what you've gotten. And I've had some great mail days over the last week or so, and I just thought, I would share those with you today. And also, today, just dive into some thoughts and strategies I've had with my collecting, what I'm selling, how I'm selling it, what I think has worked so far, and maybe what isn't working right now. Because this has just been a strange, I'm going to say a strange fall. Like, from August till now, I just feel it's been a strange time in the hobby for a lot of things, a lot of observations. Why I think some things are working for me, why I think other things aren't working. So we're going to jump into all that today. But first, a quick story. I set up at the big show yesterday, and if you saw, I did some lives, I did some Instagram lives, and we actually recorded on YouTube. We recorded for like 3.5 hours the show itself, and it wasn't a recording that we were making like a podcast or content, but just the show itself, just an overview of the show. So if people wanted to know, hey, and this happens all the time. People say, hey, is it busy there? Should I come over? Is it worth the drive over? Things like that. Now you'd be able just to tune right in and say, oh yeah, look, that room looks crowded and deals are getting done. I want to head over there. So that was more what that content was about yesterday. But I was there yesterday. I had my discount boxes out. I had a case out. We had the camera rolling, right? And I had a card last week. I had gotten some WNBA blaster boxes, and we ripped them open. And I pulled this card out. It was a Paige Beckers. I'm going to hold it up if you're on YouTube. Identified it as a silver hollow. Not super rare. Looked up on eBay, selling anywhere from $50 to $65. So when I brought that card there, because I've been sending a lot of stuff to consignment lately, I said, you know what? I'm going to be 60 firm on this, and not sell it for less, because I think it would do well, with more eyes on it, on eBay. But I put it in the case because I just pulled it. I think we pulled it on Friday, right? Throw it in the case and see what happens. I had offers as low as $30 on it. And I just decided, you know what? I'm just going to hold on to this card. So my buddy Ryan from Reservoir Sports Cards, who also does NBA, has some high-end stuff. He's about 4 or 5 tables down, came over to talk later in the day and looked in the case, and he saw it and he said, "Oh, is that a silver hollow?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You know what? That looks different. I have one, but it doesn't look like that." And he went and grabbed his and came back, and we actually put them side by side and realized mine was different. It actually wasn't the silver hollow, and after further review, we figured out it was the lava hollow refractor. So this card that I have valued just over $100, right? So I was firm at 60, which would have been a great deal, for somebody else, probably getting it at 50% uh, value on it. But glad I held on to it. Glad we figured out what it was. And yeah, you just don't know. Even someone like me who is going through, this was the nicest card I pulled. I looked it up. I looked at all different things, compared it, but there was just something slightly different about this. And until I put it up next to another one, I probably wouldn't have noticed. So, you know, just another lesson here. Just know what you're selling, right? When you pull something, if you even when you think you know what it is, I mean, just be 100% sure. So glad I held on to that card. Glad I still have it. All right, mail day. Very excited. So 4 cards that I've talked about in the past that I got. I sent them off to BGS for grading, and they just came back. So there were 2 Juju Watkins cards and 2 Sarah Strong cards. So I will start off with, I don't even know where to start because every card is great. Every card is great. I'll start off here. So this here is the Bowman Chrome Sapphire Sapphire Selections Black Refractor Autograph, Sarah Strong, number 7 of 10. And again, if you remember, if you've been a listener, you know there's something about all these cards to 10 I'm getting that are numbered 7 of 10. But this is the Black Refractors Auto, 9.5 with the 10 auto. And I'm going to hold that up. Really nice card. I got that in a break back in I think it was back in the summertime. I remember sitting out on my deck watching this break when this card got pulled late in the day on a Saturday. Another Sarah Strong I'd gotten in a break, and this was a Superfractor. It was a Social Studies Superfractor, 101, 1 of 1, and this came back in 8. Not a great grade, but you know what? It's a 1 of 1. So I'm happy to have it. The 2 Juju Watkins cards. So the Big Kahuna on card auto. This is a 9.5 with a 10. This is also the Bowman University. And somebody who pulled this card while I was set up at a show messaged me and came right over to the show and brought it to the show, and I bought it from them. And this show, if you remember, the last Mohegan show, not this, obviously this past weekend, but the weekend before, this was the Black Refractor. This is number 2 of 10, but this is the inscription, the Juju Watkins inscription. This is 2 of 10. Go Trojans. And that was 8.5 with the 10 auto. Again, I love these inscriptions. And the more I see them, the more I just want inscriptions. I don't even want regular autos anymore. So mail day, these are all cards. I'm just going to go through these quick. These are all Michaela Blake's. So this is the True Gold auto. And this is 1010, number 20 of 50, the Bowman U. This is the Red Wave. This is PSA 10. This is the auto number to 45. Then the 2 inscriptions. This one's 5 of 5. It's the red refractor. It's a true red. And if these two cards, I posted them both up on my Instagram as well a few days ago. This is the New Jersey Gatorade Player of the Year inscription. True red, 5 of 5. And this one here is the red Geo. And this is 6 of 10. And this is the at Michaela underscore Blake's inscription. So super excited to have these cards. All three of these players I am in on. As you know, I won't go into depth on that. We talk about that enough on the Hobby Chop, but talking about what's working, what's not working, what strategies I've changed. So one of the things that I talked about a couple months ago was, what, hey, maybe quality over quantity, right? Maybe go out and just start buying some of these, instead of buying a bunch of this smaller stuff, is making that investment and buying into some of the bigger cards. And as you can see on some of these players, and I've got shelves of stuff here of inscriptions and stuff like that. But making the investment into some higher end cards and then, hoping for the best. So, it's not a strategy that, I just thought of, right? I mean, obviously, so many people do it out there. But one of the things is you see a lot is, people, we see these posts on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that where people are like, "Hey, they bought this car for 10,000 and then sold it for 40,000." Right? We also see the opposite. Bought this car for 50,000 and then it sold for 10,000. So it's big swings, right? So you can either win big or lose big. It's go big or go home on something like that. So I'm not quite there yet, right? None of these cards are costing obviously the type of money I just talked about, but who knows? Some of these could be worth that someday, or these cards could turn into a bigger card like that. And here I am, I've been dipping my toes in the water for years. Now I'm thinking about jumping in a little bit, and making some bigger investments on cards to hopefully, you know, instead of buying 100 cards at $10 each, one card at like that type of thought pattern, and just on a bigger scale. So there's one strategy that I'm working on. I talked about, look, taking bigger swings, buying bigger cards, and that's what I've done. And here is just a perfect example of that. And maybe I don't need 100 cards of the same player, but 10 cards of their top cards is money well spent. Uh, so again, what I'm selling, how I'm selling it, what I think has worked so far, maybe what's not working. So these are a few things that I've done, but I'll start off by saying I think I was a little late getting my discount boxes together and out to a show or shows. I talked about a few episodes ago, oh, I'm going to build these. I've got all these cards. I'm going to build these juicy discount boxes. People are going to rip through them, and that's worked for me year after year after year. 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24. Here in 25, not so much. I put all that time in, put weeks in. I got the missus down there with me. Penny sleeving and top loading cars and really putting all this work in. And the last two shows, I put those boxes out, and I realized, whoa, what happened? Like nobody's even interested in these things. Where that was a strategy I'd use year after year after year, right? And now this year, not so much. So what's going on? I really think the value in those boxes has always been people digging through them, right, to find cards to grade, and sell. Like people understood the value. Hey, this card here, I could buy it for $3 or $5 raw. But if it gems, it's worth $70 or $80 or $100. So that's worth it to them to make that investment and do that. Rinse and repeat. That's something they would do all the time, right? Uh, and I think with PSA taking so long to get cards back, upping their prices, right? The cost of the grading has gone up. Um, I think the box digging strategies have changed, right? And probably not as much value. And when I say value, I mean the value of the card, right? And let me explain what I mean. In the past, I feel people were willing to pay a little more for a card that they felt that could gem and then just flip it for a profit, right? Whereas now it's costing more to grade the card, longer wait times, right? And it also, I say this and people say, no, 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 that's not true. And I know if Zip was here, he was like, oh, my gem rate is through the roof, right? But it feels like is PSA is doing a little pop control on these 10s too, right? So not all cards are coming back 10s, even if they could be a 10, not so much anymore. And when we used to get cards back, crack them out, wipe them down, send them back, right? One or two times we could get 10s out of them. Not anymore. I mean, I think those days are a little bit gone now. So I think the value of these cards in those boxes have severely declined. Whereas, every year after year after year, I would be selling the football rookie cards for $2 and $3 in these boxes. Now I'm struggling to get $1 for them in the boxes. Yesterday's show, the big show, I discounted all my top loaded cards in my singles boxes. Every card's $1. Anything in a penny sleeve, two for $1, right? Um, and the biggest interest in those boxes were just from the Whatnot people looking for cards to do on Whatnot starting at $1, right? But even those people digging through those boxes and pulling out, right, and saying, hey, look, if I take a bunch of these top loaded cards, can we do them for 50 cents a card or 25 cents a card? And at that moment, I thought to myself, man, that was a lot of time and effort I put into these boxes to be selling cards off at a quarter or 50 cents each. Um, and I thought to myself, maybe I'm better off just making lots of these cards and just putting them up on eBay or sending them off to consignment and selling them that way, and you know, cut my losses of what the time and effort I put into this, and maybe put a little bit more time into it, just separating the cards and making lots out of them. Even if I'm not selling them there, I'm giving them to the kids or doing something with them, because carrying these boxes back and forth and taking up the real estate on this table, for to be selling cards at 25 cents or 50 cents. And I know that's a lane that people are in. And I expected yesterday either a Whatnot or a person who came up and said, wow, these are like $2 or $3 cards. He's got them all for $1. Hey, let's make a deal. Let me just buy this whole box from you. Right. And I'll go sell it, because that's happened with me before many times. People would just come up and say, wow, there's a lot of value here. Just sell me the box. Like, instead of me going through and pulling out 100 cards, just sell me this box. Right. None of that. Right. None of that at Mohegan. None of that yesterday. So I know there's not as much value in those, because I know what those cards are in there, right? And I know what I've gotten on those similar cards year after year after year, but this year it's just not happening. And maybe right now building those boxes, um, and carrying them back and forth to the show, and for what they're actually going to sell for and the time it takes and the time, maybe it's just not worth it for me. Maybe different strategy right now. Um, and I want to be clear, the cards I'm talking about are the Prism football, absolute Donruss football, the rookies, the inserts. These are the cards I'm talking about that I've done well with. Like, I love to rip a ton of these boxes, and I would just sleeve this stuff up, put it in boxes, and people would just come buy them. Right. I always refer to them as my soup box, right? Just if it pays for gas and lunch and the table and stuff like that, it was well worth it to me. Not so much anymore. These cards are so overprinted now, they're not even worth $1, right? So what used to be lucrative to me, I think that's dried up a little bit now. Yeah, so building those soup boxes from all the leftover cards, Probably not anymore. Probably maybe just separate these cards into little lots, right? Find something else to do with them besides, besides start the fire, right? Uh, it's crazy that these base rookies and inserts really don't have any more value right now than the vet rookies and inserts that are in there. Um, that people now everybody wants shiny and numbered and things like that. That the paper stuff is really not as valuable. Like if you're not, and even about building sets, right? I In the WNBA group, somebody said they had bought 5 blasters, right? And out of those blasters, because there was so much base in there, that they built 2 complete sets of the WNBA out of the 5 blasters, right? That's incredible to think that there's that many cards, that many base cards in those boxes that you could build complete sets, already just out of a handful of blasters. Um, and I do have to say that I'm still surprised that the the Don Russ WNBA product, which I think is trash. I really do. I honestly think it's trash. Obviously, still opening them. I'm talking about a card here. Trying to find a diamond in the rough. But still opening some of those boxes because it's just about being in the hobby too. Um, They were my biggest seller yesterday. People at the table buying those WNBA cards where I just penny sleeved up all the inserts and the base rookies and things like that. Just threw them all in a box. Like hopefully you get a buck for them, right? And a buck a card, and that was really my biggest seller at the show yesterday. And really, I've talked about this, but I think the difference is most people are buying these cards. They're really not flipping these cards. They just want the cards, right? If you've been to any of these shows, um, any of these shows lately, you see the rooms, any of the card shows, you see the rooms are full of repackers and flippers, right? And I'm not saying that that's not me because I'd be considered a flipper too, right? Just buying and selling stuff. So I'm not saying them and not me. I'm just saying if you go to these shows, there's just a room full of repackers and flippers. Um, I do the same thing, but you still need the end user, right, to come through these rooms to buy these cards. Somebody actually wants to buy the cards and either keep them or hold them for a longer, even if it's a longer, quick flip like me, right? And I talk about that all the time. I go and I'll buy a lot of these, NCAA women's basketball cards, and even some Caitlin Clark cards right now and some Cam Brink cards right now. I'll buy them at what they're selling for, right? Because I don't mind holding them till next season, and they are their rookies, right? It's just not like a second or a third year card. It's their rookies. So rookie cards. So even at the end of the day, if the value doesn't go up, I'm happy to hold those cards, right? I'm happy to keep them because they're rookie cards. Um, I've watched a lot of my friends in the hobby bail on the modern stuff, right? And they go to either vintage or the 90s basketball inserts, or I think just any lane that the cards aren't being produced at such a mass scale as they are today, right? And I got people saying to me all the time, Big Ken, you got to start doing vintage. You got to start doing the older stuff. That's where it's at, right? But I always go back to collect what you love, right? Collect what makes you happy, right? What's going to bring me joy, right? And vintage and 90s basketball inserts are not going to bring me joy, right? They are not going to make me happy. That would be solely a business move, right? Just to buy and flip and buy and flip. And you know what? If I'm going to do this and it's going to be a hobby, I want to have fun doing it. So I'm going to be buying things and selling things that right make me happy. That's things I want to talk about. That I'm happy to go look for and chase. Uh, and there's nothing about vintage or 90s basketball or a lot of other things that I would find interesting. But with the WNBA and the college basketball, that's the stuff I like. I find that stuff interesting, so I'm happy to do it, right? I'm happy to call that my lane. I'm happy to do that. And of course, I love football. I absolutely love football. Uh, but the industry has turned it into such a losing game. I keep trying to find ways to win, right? I'm trying to win at football, right? But it just feels like the industry just keeps pushing it the wrong direction. Even these big cards that I hit and I grade and they come back a 10 and I'm like, "Oh my God, finally." And then all of a sudden you try to sell these things and, it's probably selling for 60 or 70% of what I initially thought it would sell if it did gem that. I'll give you a perfect example. That Topps Chrome, um, Caleb Williams, the Jaden Daniels dual auto card. And I talked about that card. I pulled that card. I send it out to grading. When I pulled that card itself, raw, that card was selling at $1,000. Right? I sent it out for grading. It came back at 10, right? Then I put it up for sale for $2,000 and nobody would even look at that card. Not even look at that card. Uh, and I'm thinking to myself, how is that possible that the raw when this card came out was selling for $1,000? Now I got a 10, which was like a pop 8 or 10. I don't even remember what the pop count was on it. But I can't even get anybody to look at it for 2,000. And I ended up selling that card for $1,000. So I pulled the card and it was great profit on it, but I would have been better off just selling that card raw when I pulled it. Not worry about sending off to grading, spending the extra money on grading, upcharged on grading because it gemmed. And then it ends up selling for $1,000 anyways. I should have just sold that card. So it's like it's almost as if the industry they've turned this football into a losing game. I don't know how else to explain it, but I'm not going to. You're not going to find me making any big investments like I'm doing in these other cards where I'm saying I'll take bigger swings in these cards. I'm not going to do it with football. I'm not going to. I'm too afraid because I've seen that I've lost more than I've won on the bigger stuff in football. And if I'm going to take a big swing, it's going to be a card that I want to keep in my collection. Like I have, a handful of Mahomes rookie autos here, right? That I'm going to buy them and keep them. I'm not buying them to flip them. So tell me what you think. Are you setting up at shows? Your dollar box is suffering. Are you still boxing up bases and rookies and rookie inserts and things like that? What are you doing with them? What is your strategy with them? Because you know what? Let me know. Maybe maybe I might try out your strategy too. If you guys are on Whatnot tonight, my guy Corey Collect for Good Sunday night. He'll be doing 2 shows tonight, 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. Definitely check him out. And I am going to, like I started at the beginning of the episode, I'm going to just hang out on the couch all day and watch some football. No stress. My Chiefs aren't playing. I'm trying to make it into some playoff. I'm in a couple playoffs. I'm trying to make it into others. It's not looking good. It's just going to be my first year that I think I'm not going to make the playoff. Like I think every year I make the playoffs in all my leagues, whether I win them or not. But this is the first year that I've got two leagues that I'm on the fence right now. I'll keep you updated on that. But um, that's all I got for you. I will be back. I'm not sure we're recording or going live with the Hobby Chop. Think we're doing that Wednesday, so you'll either get Wednesday night or Thursday morning on the Hobby Chop, and I'll be back next Sunday with a brand new episode. So until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.